Design, look what happened.
In the next throughout the next section here, I need to actually start doing my export. But before doing that, I want to just make sure that I've got the right cut. What I want to communicate here with this exercise would be two things. I want to communicate that in the summer it blocks sunlight, and I want to communicate that it allows wind into the space. So the way that this is designed is to diffuse wind. So it hits the panels and it kind of, flutters a little bit and it does its, aerodynamic thing. And then it leaks its way into the space through these cracks, essentially, right? So it's aero resistant, but it does allow some passage of air. However, on the side of my building, the way that I've cut it, what I'm seeing is that I have a full panel cut going all the way down. This could be corrected or approached in two ways. I could do a further plan cut that allows me to cut through something like this where I can actually see the gaps. Or I could shift the cut over so that the linear direction of my cut, since it's going to be in two-point perspective, will actually cut through the break in the panels. So that's an option as well, and I think that's the one that I want to go for. So I need to do another cut plane real fast, and I'll just do this really quickly. Section cut plane, or sorry, cut plane. And I'm going to draw it from this point to here. There it is. And now what I need to do is just kind of shift it over to a point where it's actually cutting through part of the panel and then leaves a gap for part of the panel. So that would be something like this. And now I'll trim this one out as well. So top view, trim, select this, and I'll get rid of all that. Oh, interesting. I wouldn't trim those. I wonder why. Ah, there we go. I don't know why I didn't trim it the other time, but okay. Back in business. So back to my axon view. Now I look at the side, and what I can see here is that there's going to be a wind gap now where it looks like it's very clearly passing some air through. Reset my view and get ready to cut. So set view, axon. Now my axon view in the top right corner isn't going to change. My other views are going to be where I set the lines and connections and stuff to make my section lines and make 2Ds and things like that. So to do the line work, let's start with just the line work. Sorry. To do the line work, I basically need to cut the section on the exposed side of the building, and then do a make 2D for the information that's going to be placed behind it. So in the top view, I can start the section command, and it'll say select the objects for the sections. That's this. And because it's a clean cut, that means that I pretty much can anchor my point to one end and the other end along the edge that I cut with the cut plane. It'll look like that, and what I'll get is this right here. In the axon view, everything that is being cut is shown right here. And without changing my camera angle, I can zoom in and out, but without changing my camera angle, I can activate the Axon view and do my first Make 2D. Because this is my cut layer, I just leave it on, whatever layer it needs to go on, or I can select one for it. Don't worry about showing hidden lines in this. And in the top view, this is my section cut. So you can see that with a rather complex facade system, it comes with a lot of line work that needs to be modified. Or generated, I should say. And also you can see that there's some clear connective, permeability in the facade that wind can get through as well. Now, the other thing I'll need to do is my Make 2D for the background. So I will select everything here and do a Make 2D. I intend to also show hidden lines, and that's because I want to be able to understand the complexity of the system as a whole. So I'll show hidden lines, and I'll maintain source layers and hit OK. This one probably will take a while, although it's only a couple feet of the building itself, so maybe it won't take that long. I'll pause while it calculates. Okay, and so it just finished doing the Make 2D. So now in the top view, I have both instances. I have my cut layer on the left, and I have the rest of it on the right. And what you'll see is that it maintained all the source layers. I might need it, I might not, I'm not sure yet. But if I don't need it, then I can just turn it off. That's why I usually maintain source layers and I export my hidden lines, because it's a pain in the ass to do it after the fact. Okay. You guys all right? All right, so here we go. Let me separate this a little more. I need to bring this into Illustrator. I'm not going to fully produce it right now, but you'll at least see what it looks like to do something a little more complex. So I select everything, File, Export Selected. Right now I'm just going to put it in a dump folder, so I'm calling mine Axon Section 222. We'll do straight to, do I want to do straight to Illustrator? I might not. I might not want to go straight to Illustrator, so I'll do a DWG. Let's do 2004 lines. That's the one that's been behaving better for us, right?
Yeah, for straight stuff. Is it polyline better? Polyline's better for warp stuff. That was better for linear stuff. Yeah, that polyline 2004.
It should be fine. This isn't all that complex. We'll just stick with 2004. So then in Illustrator, I'll open the file. So go to Open, Axon Section. This one you're going to want to scale to fit artboard because it's illustrative, so you don't really want to scale it. Although technically if it's a correct axon you could scale it. Perspective definitely is not a scaled drawing. I'll pause while it loads. So the file opened up like this, and you can see that I have all of my layers listed out here in the layers panel. My first task is going to be figure out how big it is and if it's relatively close to the size that I need. And B, then I just start collecting the layers together and getting them to operate the way that I want them to operate. So right now my drawing is 48 inches wide. That's going to be way too big for what I need it for. So I basically can select everything on the page. And since right now I'm not necessarily worried about an exact scale, I'm just going to kind of shrink it down to about a quarter. Yeah, well, half the size, like that. Now, if you have black lines like mine, they're probably going to show up white, like this is right here. Notice how when I select it over here, all my line work is there. I'm going to go through the list now, much like I did before, and actually just work through a couple of the line weight type issues. So when I click on a layer, it's going to tell me what that layer essentially is. I noticed that it brought through, because I did maintain source layers, it brought through some of the components in this drawing on the same layer as some of the components in that drawing. That's a separate layer. So I'll create another layer specifically for cut, and I'm going to select just this line work and put it on the cut layer. So now when I select that, that's individually selectable. I can make it black. I can give it a stroke weight. And that's probably going to be fine for now. I'll go through and I'll hatch it in later. But first I want to deal with this bear, right? This is like really intense, this one. So I'll zoom in on all this as I get it to try and read properly. To start off, I'm going to move my hidden line types to be with one another. So this object layer is going to go above a hidden layer, and this object layer is going to go above the hidden layers, and this object layer is going to go above the hidden layers. So all of the object layers are obviously going to be solid lines. The hidden layers will be dashed or dotted lines. I'm just not sure how dense it can be right now. So I'll just kind of start off with a singular kind of depth, and I'll change the thickness based on what it is. So here, this one is my panels, and my panels are kind of a primary component, so they're going to have a little bit more thickness, so I'll make them like a 1. Then I have my crossbars for sun shading. Those are definitely a secondary, if not tertiary, component, and so I'll make them very, very thin. Say 0.25 for now. See how that's already reading a little better? Then the blue ones, they're definitely a primary component as well, so maybe I'll make those... Actually, they should probably be the 1 or 1.5. I'll make it a 1.5. And then I'm guessing this is just slab line work. Those are probably going to be a 2. So right off the bat, we can kind of see that it's getting more clear, but it's not really super clear yet because our hidden lines are still obstructing our view. To change the hidden lines, I'm just going to start selecting them. Yeah. I'll just select the first one. So this is hidden lines for the actual panels. Those are going to be thinner than the panel, so maybe a 0.75 or a 0.5. I'll leave it at 0.75 for now. Black as well. Dashed line. It's probably too thick of a dashed line. Yeah. Okay. And this one is for the slabs. So the slabs, because they're a larger component, I'll give them a very thin line, but it'll be a longer line. So dash line, and this one probably we can get away with a 12. Something like that. The next one is going to be very, very fine because it is the finest of all of the actual object elements as well. So this one I'm going to make dotted. So I'll make that 0.25 like that. And I'm just going to do a single 1-point dash with maybe a 3-point gap. Gave me some graphic errors there. Alright. Some of this seems like a duplicate. I probably don't need this one. I'll try it out anyway. So I make it black, and I'm just going to make it 0.25. Yeah, okay, I guess I do. 0.5 dash line 5. Okay, so there are a couple of graphic errors, and if I really needed to, I could go through and fix them. But in most cases, I won't need to. So for instance, I guess you could call it sun shading. The pipes that are going through this are very clearly being, being blocked off by the panel right here. However, right here, this pipe is not being blocked off by the panel, and yet it still shows up as a dashed line. So when you're doing a very complex model like this, it's not perfect. You sometimes have to go in and edit them and fix them up. If I wanted to, I could go and select the line. There should be a common line somewhere. I don't know how to select it, but maybe not. Well, anyway, for this exercise particularly, it's really not worth it. I think we can get away with it, but in some cases, you might want to edit some of those to fix them up. I'm not going to worry about it for this one. Okay, but that's reading pretty clear, right? Relatively. All right, so now let's worry about the vector background. Oh, the section line. Well, you guys know what to do with the section line. I won't worry about that yet. Let's worry about the vector background. We'll get to that in just a second. I'll just stop this video, and I'll do it in another section.